Thank you so much, Rahila, for that warm introduction. And it's so nice to be back today. For me, this is such a full circle moment. I entered CTN as a client back in 2006, and today I'm coming back as an alumni, being able to moderate for this panel discussion today for this year's AGM. CTN's Family Advisory Committee and CTN staff worked together to develop a universal topic for today's panel discussion that we felt would resonate for children and youth with disabilities, families, CTN employees, and service providers. Before we get into all the juicy stuff today, I want to take some time to introduce to you our wonderful panelists. First off, we have Amelia, who is a mom to two boys, ages 13 and 15. She is an advocate for children's health in Canada, and she's also a trained family mentor at CTN since 2015. She loves to sing and dance with her son, CJ. CJ is currently in grade 7 attending public school in Simcoe County. He has no pets, but he would really like a cat. I also really want a cat. Maybe we can tag team and convince our parents together. He also loves to sing and dance with his mom, Amelia. Secondly, we have Cole. Cole is currently in grade 9. He loves to play video games, watch YouTube, and enjoys hanging out at the family trailer. He has an unknown form of muscular dystrophy, scoliosis, restrictive lung disease, among many other diagnoses. And last but not least, we have Hoda. Hoda is an active member of CTN's Family Advisory Committee since 2017 and is also a trained family mentor supporting families through CTN's Family Mentor program. She is a mother to a lovely 11-year-old boy with autism spectrum disorder. Hoda has been homeschooling her son for the last 3 years. Welcome, everyone, and now let's get into this conversation. So, as you all know, for the past year and a bit, we have been stuck at home in this pandemic. It has felt like it's never ending, and something that has helped me a lot through these times is staying connected. Whether it's on FaceTime, on Zoom, on Discord, playing games with my friends, standing on a driveway with my friends, I do whatever it takes to stay in touch because that's what's helped me get through these challenging and tough times. Now that you know a little about me, I think it's important we get to know our panelists. So, panelists, can you start by telling us a little bit about your experiences with staying connected with your friends, family, and the community given your individual situation? Hoda, if you'd like to start us off.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. I've been homeschooling my son for the last 3 years, and we used to spend every day in some sort of classes and activities before pandemic, such as swimming or boxing or art classes. So we used to meet other homeschool families at least 3 times a week, and we had so much fun before that. So when the pandemic happened, we lost all those connections and all those great fun activities. That's why we decided to go every day and do something different. So we changed our routine, and we started to do many different things. Like, for example, yesterday we cleaned our street to just hang with our neighbors and talk to them, and my son was very happy to do that.
It's amazing. Cole, if you'd like to go next.
The ways that I stayed connected to COVID were I used to go to school in person, and then I also played while I went out with friends and played. And then I visited family. And then I also went to events like all of the CTN events, like the Halloween one and whatever. And then I also went out for dinner with friends, family, stuff like that. And I played sports.
Amelia and CJ, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to start?
Before the pandemic, we take into.
It was easier before the pandemic because I was in school.
I could hear my hands and teacher and EAs every single day.
I could see my friends, teachers, and EAs every single day.
I also have if above is my hands, in my hand taste. And if he visited to the door, and kind of heat, a whole page, he does not.
I would have sleepovers with my friend Chase, and we played video games and hide and seek. We also played with his dog, Nora.
You go to the MPA, the pet, or the IBA, on the 18th, and sometimes I'll hear my hands there.
We would go to the YMCA, the park, or the library on the weekends, and sometimes I would see my friends there. I would say in general, before the pandemic, we definitely had more balanced life, and our activities were balanced before COVID. So we were able to do a lot more things in a lot different ways. It was much easier to make connections with people in person. Definitely Zoom and video chats are not as easy to make the connection. That eye contact, so important. And I think before the COVID, we also wanted less interactions. I think our day-to-day, our weekend activities, you took for granted that you could have those connections at any time. And I think there's some points in life where you're like, I just need a weekend to rest and not do all of the things. And that changed really quickly.
I can definitely relate and resonate with everything that all of you are saying, from taking for granted those random park visits on a Saturday, or I really like going shopping with my friends. Sometimes just on a random day after classes, we take the bus to Scarborough Town Center and just hang out there after class, and then go get dinner and then come home super late. All those little things that kind of made your day and gave you like kind of a semblance and kind of like a refreshment almost from the mundane things in your life, like school and work. Whereas now everything is just kind of confined to home. We do school from home, we do work from home, we celebrate from home. I'll be graduating this Friday from home instead of at my college. Everything is just online, and it's made it difficult. I feel like emotionally, even physically, it's a lot. And it's been going on for 15 months. And these 15 months have been challenging for so many with COVID related public health restrictions. Can you share your experiences and how you've stayed connected with family, friends, and your community in this time? Cole, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, how I am staying connected during this time is I'm doing online school, I'm doing video chats with family such as Zoom, FaceTime, and then I'm texting with my friends, playing video games online with friends, and then also calling friends and family to see how they're doing. And yeah.
Amelia and CJ, if you'd like to go next.
Sure.
Okay, texting is taste.
He would text with his friend Chase.
Video test is both Hank and Emily.
Video chat with both friends and family.
Amount, eating loop is old text who are key in two. Teach them how to eat.
He did remote reading group with his old classmates who are still in school 3 times a week.
ABS, I will depend about that now.
Driveway visits while his parents shoveled the snow.
But at pizza is taste.
Backyard pizza with Chase.
My bite ice and hands is depending on bike too.
Family bike rides and seeing friends with their parents on their bikes too. In general, we've had to really pivot. He likes that word, pivot, because I say it a lot. We've had to pivot how we do things and trying to reclaim that balance. So like Cole said, or CJ said, there's a lot of texting and video chatting. And I think the most important thing that we learned was to really advocate for CJ's needs and understanding and asking him questions on what he actually needed. And it actually came to light that with remote, he was with a different classroom with different kids across Simcoe that he didn't know. And so he missed that connection with his old classmates. So we have a great relationship with our local school, Lake Simcoe, and we're able to let the teachers know that he was missing his friends. And so they implemented a 3 times a week reading group so that he could connect via video with his classmates while they were still in school and he was in remote learning. So it's just a different way to do things and try and keep that connection that was so important. And then through that connection, we were able to make sure to ask the questions about, hey, who plays which video games and on which platforms, so that we could get CJ connected in a different way so that he had even more platforms to use in order to continue to connect. And I would say in general, really listening to him and finding out what the needs were probably more important to keeping him connected with friends and schoolmates versus myself. I was just running around trying to buy all the things that I thought he would need, whether it was a new laptop or a better monitor and all the different things that I thought would help. And really it was something so simple was just connect me with my old friends.
Amelia, you mentioned like advocating for CJ's needs and pushing that boundary to make sure he's being heard and listened to and getting what he needs. I know personally advocating is tough, to put it in easy words. It's a lot of work, it takes a lot of emotional labor, it's time consuming, and it feels like you're saying things that should be, I guess, common sense, or like, come on, like why do I have to talk about this and bring this up? Like, this should just be something that is easy and should already be done and shouldn't have to be a request. Do you or Hoda, if you have anything to chime in as well, have any advice or tips or anything you would give to any parents who are struggling to advocate for their child's needs during the pandemic?
Yeah, I can go first, Hoda. I think one is having some patience with everyone around you, knowing that the schools don't know what to do. I think even some of our CTN support workers had to figure it all out from scratch, as this was like brand new to everyone, and I think we all got blindsided. So I think having that compassion and understanding that we think that it should be solved and that the school should solve it for us, and the reality is they don't know what we need until we're able to communicate it. And I think I, as a parent, and I am really well versed in the 6 F's, often wouldn't ask my children, whether disabled or not, what they actually need. I think as a parent, you just jump into mode and saying, I can solve your problems, I can do it. And the reality is we need to sit back and really ask the questions. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, there's things as adults that we even need to advocate for that we don't know that we need. And so of course, kids might not recognize either. So just having those honest conversations. And I think as soon as you raise your hand and ask some really simple questions, I think everyone would jump into solution mode. Because they didn't realize it was an issue. So in fact, advocating is really hard, but just recognizing the issue is half the battle.
I totally agree, Amelia. As you mentioned, I think advocating for our children now is beyond what it used to be before. And before it was only around like schooling or some services, and now it's every day for every single thing. And I know so many families that they are going through this. I always use this example that for kids on the spectrum, it's so for many of them, it's so hard to wear masks, and because of all the sensory issues. And maybe like, although wearing a mask seemed like a simpler process to most, but for those kids are really, really hard. And those parents should advocate for them even in a supermarket. I know like parent that should, some parent I know that they really tried so hard with their doctors to just get the exemption letter. The doctor didn't want to give any because they're not supposed to give anything like that in a pandemic, but they have to even just work so hard around that, even with the doctor. So yes, I think we have to focus on like finding ways to get our family through this every single day. And that's really hard. That's really challenging.
I got another question for CJ and Cole. Feel free to answer. I'm just curious. What games have you guys picked up during the pandemic? Any new favorites?
Hmm. Um. Huh. No.
Nope.
Cole, do you have any favorites that you picked up?
Yeah, I mostly play Farming Simulator, and actually, yesterday I started playing an old game that I used to play, which is called Need for Speed Payback. So,
Oh my gosh, I love Need for Speed too. Just unlocked a memory for me. Wow. I've also tried really hard to keep myself busy. During this stay-at-home time, I've also picked up a bunch of games. I've been spending a lot of time with my family. I've picked up new hobbies like learning how to do graphic design, motion design. I've started learning how to draw again, all those little things, right? I think it's really easy to focus on the stressful aspects of this pandemic, and rightfully so, but there's been little pockets of peace in them. I've been able to reconnect with my younger sister a lot more and learn more about her and her autism and how that affects her in her day-to-day life. I've gotten to spend so much time with her now where she's given me a nickname and we communicate with eye contact. It's so much fun. So I know it's been stressful and I know it's been hard, but I'm sure all of you could say there's been little moments of happiness and little pockets of peace that can make your day and just kind of make things easier. This little things now make me smile and make me laugh. Like yesterday, I was out on a walk with my sister and my mom. My wheelchair finally got repaired after 2 weeks of being stuck at home. I took it outside and we were going out and there was this little rabbit that was like running across the road and we were all screaming because we were so scared it was gonna get hit or something, but it made it all the way to the other side and it was just like a yes, like one of those movie moments where like we made it. Those little things can just make you happy. So we've gone through some good things and we've gone through some bad things, and all of those things collectively have probably shaped us up and made us change. And it's probably given us a new perspective, a new outlook on just various aspects of our life. And I'm sure with experience comes advice. And I want to know, what advice would you share to help foster relationships and connections beyond the pandemic once this is all, fingers crossed, over? Amelia and CJ, if you'd like to start.
For sure.
That arrow text and video texting are no aid to deep tendency.
Texting and video chatting is definitely a new way to keep connected.
Try new things to or hand
Try new things and call your friends.
and sudden or open way and the instrument or on that very hard to beat it.
And tell them that you're walking by and to meet you on the driveway for a quick visit.
Maintains as the but how a distance with it.
Meet friends at the park for a social distance visit. I would say that staying creative is probably the smartest thing to do to try and uplift and motivate yourself to stay connected. We definitely found new paths to walk. We live on a street that's called Forest Street. Didn't realize all the little forest paths that we had available to us. So we're able to find these little paths and it was absolutely fantastic. We found getting fast food like McDonald's and sitting in a parking lot just in the back of our car was something we like to do every weekend. And it's probably not the best thing for us, but it was the fun thing that we could do to get out of the house and have some fun. And then lastly, we're so lucky that the pandemic happened in this day and age, and it didn't happen when I was young 30 years ago, because now we have social media. And I think there were so many interesting trends that happened that you could just get inspired and get some new ideas on different things you could do, whether it was like the making of the bread, or we had this push-up challenge that we were doing, which of course I lost and the kids totally kicked my butt. Or it was finding some YouTube drawings and learning how to draw on YouTube. And that was really exciting for us to do as a family, just to keep active and keep your mind going. And then something interesting that would happen that you could then share with friends and family on the next time you chatted with them.
CJ, what's your favorite thing to get from McDonald's?
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
Good choice. Hoda, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I asked my son, and my son said, video games, video games, video games. So this is his suggestion, not mine, okay? So we visited so many friends in the park anytime that we were allowed to. My son just talked over the Zoom with a friend who lives in China now. So before we were not even thinking about that, but now he can be connected with his best friend at least once in a week in China. And yeah, we used our chance anytime we could do picnic. We did that. That's a new thing for us, and I think we're going to continue doing that because it's so much fun. My son learned to make friends in parks, and last week in the beach, and that's a new thing, and that really helped him to stay connected, and I'm so happy about that. Yeah, we spend lots of time now outdoor. We do math in the park. We do science. So, and we meet new people. I think we're going to stay connected that way.
And last but not least, Cole.
Yeah, some advice that I would give is just stay connected in any way you possibly can, and then not talking to friends or family for a while can get lonely. And I had some issues early on in the pandemic of I wasn't talking to friends or family, so I kind of just mentally shut down. So I learned from that to stay connected. So
I really want to highlight Cole's point there about just the fact that like we can feel really overstimulated right now, and like feel like there's a balance, right? Sometimes we feel like we always got to be on the phone, always be on call, always get to that text message or whatever it is, and then sometimes it's like you feel like you just don't want to talk to anybody, and it's really hard to find that balance. I know when the pandemic first started, I was in that boat of like my phone was on do not disturb 23 out of the 24 hours a day. I really did not want to answer anybody. I didn't want to get on any Zoom calls. I was so stressed out with wrapping up my semester online because we had like 3 weeks left and exams are about to kick in. And I really didn't want to just experience this. I was so emotionally overwhelmed and upset, and I was just like confused like everybody else was. And it took a lot out of me to get out of that shell and come back and ground myself and be like, okay, Maria, like, yes, this situation sucks. And it feels like it's not going to change for a while. So it's better I learn how to cope with it and how to build myself up and build up resilience and tolerance to the things that we're experiencing. And I say that very easily, but it really wasn't that easy. It took a couple of months to really sit down with myself, talk to myself. I picked up things like journaling and doodling or reading to put my mind somewhere else and create an outlet when things got tough and tricky for me. Open-ended question if anybody wants to answer. Have you picked up any hobbies, outlets, interests that kind of made the days go by a little easier?
I would say in general, as a family, we got a lot closer. Maybe a little too close times that you know, are on top of each other and you need a little bit of a break, but it is a welcome change. And so it really uncovers you to get creative and do different things. So we have like a whole shelf full of board games, and just trying to bring them out from the dust and like start to play them again. So we actually bought Mahjong at Christmas time because we had gone through a lot of our games at that point at Christmas. And definitely something that's a part of my heritage that I grew up playing and realized I had not taught my children. And so we started playing Mahjong, and that was really great.
That was exactly the same, Amelia. We did a lot of board games, and we ran off and then we bought stuff on Facebook from other families because we didn't have enough, and that was very new, and we got really closer. We watch a lot of Disney movies together. And yeah, a lot of new things that happened that made us closer. I definitely agree with you.
Cole, was there anything that helped you get through that rough time?
I would say the main thing that helped me through that rough time was probably just playing video games, really, because it passed the time so fast that I didn't realize what time it was by the time I was done playing. So
I feel you on a personal level. I have an embarrassing amount of hours on Mario Kart, Super Smash, and Animal Crossing. I don't want to talk about it. I think if you add up all the hours, it could total to like a year's worth of gameplay. It's really embarrassing. I don't look at it. It's fine, but it got me through those tough days. I just wanted to say thank you, and I appreciate everything that all of you have shared. You have definitely given me insight and an outlook on what it's like to deal with the pandemic, because I think a lot of the pandemic discussion has not centered around the disability experience and what that looks like, whether it's for marginalized communities, communities living out of mainstream areas, and how it has really affected and shaped our lives and changed it too. I definitely learned from the parent perspective as well, knowing my mom was looking after me and my younger sister with a physical disability. It's a lot of work, and I didn't really appreciate how much time and effort she's been putting in for us, overtime in fact, because of the fact that we're sitting on her head 24/7, always needing help with something or whatever it might be. It has been stressful, it has been hard, but I think we're lucky in a way where we hopefully have these connections around us that are grounding us and giving us some semblance of happiness, little moments of peace. And I'm sure you all collectively appreciate each other and everything that you are experiencing, and you get to do it together. You're not alone, right? The common phrase we hear is that we're in this together, and I really hope that after listening to our panelists today that you really agree that we are in this together. Our experiences are definitely universal. You're not alone in those struggles and fights that we've been fighting. We're all kind of going through it, but we're not showing it, because I think that there's a stigma around showing those hardships, but there's nothing wrong with them. They come and they go, and you learn to cope, but you don't have to cope alone. So thank you so much to our lovely panelists. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak and listen and learn and engage. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back now to Karen to give a couple of words before our break. Thank you once again.